What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Let's dive into our first news. Tom Aspinall recently opened up about which fighter, past or present, he believes would have been his toughest matchup, and his answer came without hesitation. When asked if there's anyone, whether current or retired, inside or outside the UFC, that he feels he would definitely lose to, Tom smiled and said, yeah. You know DC, Daniel Cormier? Peak DC would have been the worst style matchup for me ever. He continued, explaining that Cormier's combination of pressure, power, and wrestling made him an absolute nightmare for someone with his fighting style. He's got a nasty style, Tom said. He's short, keeps walking forward, changing levels between grappling and striking. He can knock you out, he can take you down, and he's got cardio for days. For my style, he's a nightmare. He even mentioned that he's told Daniel this directly before. I've said it to his face as well, he added with a laugh. The respect between the two is clear. But Tom made no secret of how difficult it would have been to face Cormier in his prime. He went on, describing how impressive DC was during his run as champion. I've seen loads of his fights, and I always thought he was a beast. DC was unreal. The way he'd pick up a leg and just swing. Bro, he'd swing from down here with his head tucked in and somehow still land right on your chin. Next thing you know, you're gone. Aspinall admired Cormier's ability to blend elite wrestling with dangerous striking power, something few heavyweights or light heavyweights could ever replicate. That's force, Tom said. His wrestling was unbelievable. Fair play to him. It's rare to hear a current UFC champion admit another fighter might have his number, but Tom's honesty only highlights his respect for greatness. He recognized that Cormier's relentless pace, explosive takedowns, and powerful hooks would have made him a stylistic nightmare for almost anyone, especially someone who thrives on timing and range like Aspinall. His words were a reminder of how highly the new generation still regards legends of the sport. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news, Alex Pereira recently spoke to the media after his dominant win over Magomed Ankalaev and revealed that there was one thing he actually wished had gone differently in the fight. Pereira said he wanted the bout to last a little longer because he didn't get the chance to deliver on a promise he made before stepping into the octagon. I landed a clean punch before the elbows and he went diving for my legs, Alex explained. It was a great feeling landing those elbows. When I threw the first one, I saw blood immediately. I kept hitting until the referee stepped in and stopped it. While the victory was decisive, Pereira admitted he wanted a few more seconds to send a message. I wish it could have gone a little longer, he said. I promised to slap his face and I didn't get to do that. The crowd laughed as Alex delivered the line with his usual calm but intimidating tone. His mix of precision, power, and composure once again showed why he's one of the most feared fighters in the sport today. But clearly, the champ still had a little unfinished business in his mind. Moving on to another news, Chael Sonnen has reacted to the wild story that's taken the MMA world by storm. Merab sparring hard on the actual day of his fight. According to his teammate Khalil Roundtree, Merab went absolutely beast mode, stepping into the cage on fight day to spar multiple partners for 5 full rounds against Cory Sandhagen. The revelation left fans and fighters completely stunned. It's almost unheard of for a fighter to go that hard just hours before walking out to compete, but it perfectly sums up who Merab is. A relentless machine with unmatched cardio, drive, and discipline. Roundtree explained that Merab didn't just do a light warm-up. He sparred intensely, cycling through fresh partners every round, keeping the pace non-stop. That's why his gas tank and pressure inside the octagon are something no one can replicate. After his big win, the bantamweight champ is now expected to face Petr Yan in December on a pay-per-view event that still doesn't have a main headliner yet. But even if he's not the main event, fans know Merab will steal the show with his non-stop pace and insane work ethic. With the win over Sandhagen, Merab extended his UFC streak to 14 straight victories, placing him 4th on the all-time list behind Islam, Kamaru Usman, and Anderson Silva. That kind of consistency and dominance puts him in rare company, and the way he overwhelms his opponents has drawn comparisons to Khabib himself. His pressure, volume, and refusal to slow down have made him one of the most feared fighters in the division. Even Deiveson Figueiredo recently weighed in, calling Merab the bantamweight GOAT. He praised his streak, toughness, and dominant fighting style, though he did admit that Merab is not unbeatable. According to Figueiredo, the only way to beat him would be to come forward with aggression and full confidence. But as everyone knows, that's much easier said than done when you're standing across from a cardio machine like Merab. Chael Sonnen added more detail to the story, explaining that Merab actually sparred 5 full rounds around noon on fight day. The only unclear part, according to Sonnen, was whether this happened inside the official octagon or at his gym, Syndicate MMA. Either way, the fact remains, he went through multiple sparring partners, wearing small gloves, and pushed himself as if it were another grueling training session, not the day of a professional fight. Sonnen pointed out that this wasn't the first time Merab has done something like this. He recalled hearing a similar story before, though that time it happened during his warm-up backstage while the pay-per-view was already underway. Merab's routine is far from normal, but it's a glimpse into why he's built differently. When other fighters rest, he's already grinding. He doesn't just rely on talent, he outworks everyone in the room, every single day. And now, after another dominant performance, Merab's legend of unmatched endurance and mental toughness just keeps growing. Moving on to another news, Beneil Dariush shared his honest reaction to Charles Oliveira's dominant win over Mateusz Gamrot at UFC Rio. Speaking with Submission Radio, Dariush admitted he was surprised by how easily Oliveira dismantled Gamrot, especially considering how competitive Gamrot usually is. Having fought both men before, Beneil had a unique perspective on what happened inside the cage. "I was super impressed with Charles," he said. "He looked really good, really clean, didn't take much damage, and he was basically able to do whatever he wanted to Gamrot, which was surprising. I thought Gamrot would do much better." Dariush went on to explain that short-notice preparation might have been a big factor in Gamrot's performance. "From what I read, his coach said he only arrived in Florida about 3 weeks before the fight," Beneil said. "If that's the case, then who knows how good his conditioning was or how tough the weight cut turned out to be. That stuff matters a lot." He acknowledged that taking such a massive fight on short notice comes with serious challenges, especially against a fighter as dangerous and technical as Oliveira. Beneil added, "I'm sure if you talk to his corner, they'll say that with a full camp, the fight would have looked a lot different. I believe that too. Gamrot is a great fighter, but this time, the timing just wasn't right." Still, Dariush gave full credit to Oliveira for how sharp and composed he looked inside the octagon. "Watching the fight, Charles looked great," he said. "Gamrot just didn't really have anything for him." It was a fair and respectful assessment from Beneil, who knows firsthand how elite both men are, and how small factors like timing, preparation, and opportunity can completely change the outcome of a fight at the highest level. Moving on to another news, Ilia has once again shocked the MMA world, but this time it's not with a knockout or a stare down. It's with a behind-the-scenes revelation about what truly makes him so elite. Fans have always wondered what separates Ilia from the rest. We all see the speed, the power, the precision, and that ice-cold composure inside the octagon, but now the secret has finally been revealed by his physiotherapy and performance coach, Joseph Caballero, and what he shared is nothing short of revolutionary. According to Caballero, Ilia isn't just a naturally gifted athlete, he's at the cutting edge of modern sports science. He said Ilia has built his entire training system around evidence, data, and precision, taking the same performance protocols used by world-class football clubs and adapting them perfectly for MMA. Caballero explained that no other fighter in the sport is currently using these advanced methods at the level Ilia is, but what's even more impressive is what the numbers say. Caballero revealed that in more than a decade of testing elite athletes with high-end performance technology, Ilia's reaction speed and cognitive metrics are the highest he has ever recorded, even compared to professional footballers, who are known for their explosive movement and quick reactions. He said Ilia's brain-to-body connection is on another level, allowing him to process chaos, react instantly, and make split-second decisions with perfect timing inside the cage. Caballero went on to explain that Ilia's ability to learn is almost unreal. His rate of adaptation is so fast that the entire team constantly has to evolve their training methods just to keep up with him. He's not improving fight to fight, he's improving week to week. The coach described him as a once-in-a-generation athlete, someone who doesn't just train hard, but trains smart, constantly pushing the limits of what's possible through science and discipline. Even his move up to the lightweight division was planned with surgical precision. Caballero said Ilia added muscle mass and knockout power without sacrificing a single ounce of speed. Thanks to his world-class strength and conditioning team, every part of that transition was designed to perfection. He hits harder, moves just as fast, and his body is firing at 100%, Caballero said. One of the most fascinating details was the use of neuromuscular activation protocols before and after the weight cut. The team uses everything from visual stimulation and muscle tuning to advanced tech that keeps Ilia's brain and body fully synchronized right up to fight day. Every system is optimized so he steps into the cage functioning at his absolute peak. And here's the craziest part. Ilia has never suffered a major injury. Caballero made it clear that's not luck, it's design. They treat his body with the same care and precision as if he were recovering from injury, ensuring longevity and durability in a sport where most athletes break down over time. Simply put, Ilia is redefining what it means to be a modern mixed martial artist, blending elite genetics with science, intelligence, and relentless evolution. Moving on to another news, Dana White has finally broken his silence on all the buzz surrounding a potential super fight between Alex Pereira and Jon Jones, and his response has sent shockwaves through the MMA world. After Pereira's incredible win over Magomed Ankalaev, the Brazilian powerhouse wasted no time setting his sights on Jones, sparking wild speculation across social media. Some even claimed the UFC was planning to make it happen at a special White House event, but Dana quickly shut all of that down. On Instagram, the UFC boss called the entire rumor garbage, making it clear that the promotion hasn't discussed any White House fight and won't even start planning until February. So for now, anything floating around online is pure fiction. The statement immediately sparked reactions across the MMA community, and one of the most interesting takes came from Josh Thomson. According to him, if the dream fight between Pereira and Jones ever does happen, it wouldn't be at heavyweight. It would take place at light heavyweight. Thomson believes Jones would actually move back down to 205 pounds to chase that belt one more time. And honestly, that idea has fans going crazy. Many thought Pereira should stay at 205 to defend his title, most likely against Carlos Ulberg next, but the thought of Jones returning to the division where he built his legacy adds a whole new level of excitement. Thomson broke it all down, saying a clash between Jones, the greatest 205-pound fighter of all time, and Pereira, who's on one of the most incredible streaks we've ever seen, would be massive for the sport. He explained that Dana may not have confirmed anything yet, but internally, the conversation is likely happening. He mentioned that behind the scenes, guys like Hunter Campbell, Mick Maynard, and Sean Shelby are probably tossing ideas back and forth about who should headline that eventual White House card. And while Dana insists nothing is official, it's almost impossible to believe that a potential showdown between Jones and Pereira hasn't at least come up in those talks. Thomson continued by saying that if this fight happens, it will most likely be for the light heavyweight title. He said people keep bringing up heavyweight, and while that would be fine from a weight-cutting perspective, the reality is there's no belt on the line there. The real legacy fight, the one that would define greatness, is at 205. In his words, Jon Jones is the GOAT of that division, the greatest 205-pounder to ever do it, and Pereira is the current king. So, if the two were to collide, it wouldn't just be another super fight. It would be a generational clash between past and present dominance. Thomson also made an interesting point about legacy. He said that if Pereira were to defeat Jones at 205, he wouldn't just be a two-division champion. He'd be the man who beat the guy universally considered the GOAT of that weight class. That alone would push Pereira into true all-time great status, cementing his name among the legends of the sport. He already holds 2 belts in different divisions, but beating Jones would make that legacy undeniable. For now, Dana's message is clear. No White House fights, no Pereira versus Jones announcement, and no official talks until at least February. But as the fans know, in the world of MMA, even when Dana says something's off the table, it doesn't mean the story is over. Moving on to another news, it was a tough night for American top team at UFC Rio as both Mateusz Gamrot and Karolina Kowalkiewicz suffered defeats in their respective bouts. Gamrot was submitted by Charles Oliveira in the second round, while Kowalkiewicz was knocked out in the third round by Julia Pilastri. Following the losses, head coach Mike Brown shared an emotional message reflecting on the night and his fighter's spirit. "We win together, we lose together," Brown said. "I'm truly heartbroken for my friend Mateusz, but I've always admired his courage and willingness to take risks. He's never been afraid of big challenges." Brown explained how quickly everything unfolded for Gamrot. He landed in Florida just 3 weeks ago to start training for a UFC headliner scheduled for November 8th. On his second day in America, he heard the news that Fiziev had pulled out of his fight with Charles Oliveira. Like a soldier wanting to go to battle, Gamrot immediately started campaigning for the opportunity to face the Brazilian legend. A few days later, the fight was confirmed. He trained hard for about 12 days, jumped on a plane to Brazil, and took his shot, Brown said. The coach admitted it was a gamble, and this time it simply didn't pay off. "It's always a gamble every time you step inside that cage," Brown continued. This time, the fight didn't go our way, but Gamrot still showed the same warrior spirit and passion he's known for. He's truly one of a kind. I think fans respect him for being willing to fight anyone, anywhere, under any circumstance. Brown also pointed out how rare it was for Gamrot to be finished, considering his long and successful career. In 30 professional fights, this was the first time he's ever been finished, he said. When you're competing against the best fighters on the planet, things like this can happen. Even legends stumble sometimes. Charles himself is a legend and a former champion, and he's faced adversity too. He ended his message with words of belief and encouragement. My point is, I still believe in Mateusz. I still believe he can be the champion one day. It was a tough loss and a hard pill to swallow, but that's part of this sport. All we can do now is learn, grow, and get better. We can always get better. It was a heartfelt statement from one of MMA's most respected coaches, showing the deep bond between fighter and mentor even in defeat. Moving on to another news, Rampage Jackson just shared a hilarious and unexpected story about his preparation for one of the biggest fights of his career, his 2007 showdown with Chuck Liddell, a bout he famously won by first-round knockout. During a recent conversation, Rampage revealed that he actually tried to recruit none other than UFC referee Herb Dean to be his sparring partner for that fight. The reason? He thought Herb moved exactly like Chuck Liddell. Rampage said, "In MMA, it's hard to find people who can really mimic your opponent's style. I remember I wanted somebody that reminded me of Chuck, and the only person I could think of was Herb Dean. But when he asked Herb to help him train, Herb turned him down immediately. He was like, 'No man, I gotta stay neutral. I can't come help you train for your fight.'" Rampage laughed. The hosts were surprised, thinking Rampage was joking or mixing things up. "Wait, you tried to bring in Herb Dean the referee?" one asked. Rampage laughed and clarified, Yeah, Herb Dean the ref. But listen, take that back right now. Herb Dean moves like Chuck Liddell, I swear. I sparred him years ago." That caught everyone off guard, because most people didn't even know Herb had a fighting background. One of the hosts interrupted, saying, "Wait, I never even knew Herb Dean the ref actually did MMA." Rampage quickly responded, "Yeah man, he fought before. The ref with the dreads, he's an MMA fighter." Everyone was shocked, with one of them saying, "I don't know how I didn't know that." Rampage laughed and explained that Herb wasn't just a referee. He's got a couple of fights. He don't have the best record, but he's a good fighter. We used to train together with Antonio McKee, and I sparred with him years ago. The entire conversation turned into a mix of surprise and laughter as Rampage went on about how Herb Dean actually used to move and fight. "People don't realize it, but Herb's got skills," Rampage said. "He can move, he's got timing, and when we sparred back in the day, he reminded me of Chuck. That same forward pressure, that same stance, and the way he throws. It's one of those behind-the-scenes stories that only Rampage Jackson could tell, mixing humor, nostalgia, and a bit of MMA history all in one." Even after all these years, the idea of Herb Dean, one of the most respected referees in the sport, being Rampage's sparring partner still sounds unbelievable. But as Rampage reminded everyone, it almost happened. That's it from MMA Pulse News. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.